This is an introduction to our products with a few additional pieces that I think are very, very important. Whether you've been here a long time or just started, it doesn't matter. You should be asking yourself these questions all the time, every single day. Why does our work matter? Do we make an impact? And what is your personal mission? We all have a reason why we've chosen to do this. Our work is not rocket science, and yet it's not easy either. It can have challenges for the reasons that those of us who are practicing know. But there has to be a personal mission. We each have our own. I know what mine is, and I'm sure at some point you have figured out what yours is. But I'm going to describe to you what we do in the easiest way possible while showing you the products that we use, because I want you to be able to tell somebody quickly in 2 minutes what it is you do. And sometimes our information requires this presentation, this elaboration, which is true. We absolutely want to be able to do that for our clients, but we should also be able to very, very quickly describe what we do. So when people ask me what I do, I say I do three main things. I focus primarily on 3 things as a financial agent. I focus on helping families save, and I don't even go into the different types of saving. I just say I help families save, I help protect families, and I help protect their assets. If you look at the list, or if you look at what's underneath each of them, you will see that these are basically what we see in our presentation. What kinds of savings? We focus primarily on emergency funds, college funds, and retirement. What kind of family protection? Life insurance, long-term care, budget and planning. And what kind of asset protection? Well, we know wills, living trust, and estate plans. That pretty much covers everything. Feel free to take a screenshot so that you can kind of have that quickly, because when people ask you, they don't want to hear a long story of what you do. Most people have the attention span of an ant. Very short attention span. Everybody's busy, right? So you want to make sure you can say this quickly. I help people save money, I help protect families, and I help protect people's assets. If you say those things, they'll be intrigued and they'll ask for more. Okay, so this is actually my business card now. I just blew it up so I look really big. Usually it's smaller. I have it electronically on my phone and I share it with people. Okay, make it quick. Make people understand what you do. But it's not just about knowing what you do. It's about feeling why you do it. Because if you don't speak with conviction and passion, people will just see you as a salesperson. Who of you here wants to be a salesperson? Feel free to raise your hand. The first thing everybody tells me is, I don't want to sell anything. And I tell them, neither do I. I want to educate people and guide people towards a better life. I came from education. Most of you know, 23 years in education. I've been a teacher, an assistant principal, a director of programs. I've done it all. I am not about selling, but I am about educating and giving people choices that they didn't know they had. So make sure you know this. So guess what? Santos, in that brochure that he translated, showed this tool. Why is this tool important? Well, this is a traditional way. I'm going to now go into the why we do what we do and why it matters so much. But we always talk about a 3-legged stool, because most people, when they're thinking about saving for retirement specifically, they're thinking about, oh, I have all these different ways that I'm saving. Social Security is something the government will give me. I have a private pension plan through work, and I also have my personal savings. Well, guess what? What do you know for sure now? After studying for your license exam, Natalia, this will be something you'll know very soon. And if you pay attention to the news, we know that Social Security is melting. It's going away faster than we can think. We also know that private pensions, the 401ks, the 403bs, all of those pension plans to work are in trouble. Some are in more trouble than others, but they're all in trouble. So what can we count on? Our personal savings, our personal pension plans, right? Super, super, super important. Some of you have already seen this before, because it's, we share it often, but this is crucial. I talk about this all the time. I talk about it in my Instagram account. I talk about it with people that will listen to me about retirement. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't have to worry about it yet. I'm like, yes, you do. Actually, you do. You had to worry about it yesterday. But what we know is that 1 in 3 Americans have zero saved for retirement, like nothing. Do you know what that means? And that was my husband, FYI. I'm not saying I had it all figured out. My husband was there. That's why I'm doing this, because I wanted to help people like him. He had zero. Always had worked for companies, and they relied on Social Security. He thought Social Security was going to give him a quality of life. I was like, you know what, Ignacio? Nope. I just read about Social Security. We're in trouble. So then I looked into what we were going to do, and that's how I landed where I am today. But we know that 1 in 3, 33% have zero saved. But look at the numbers for the rest. That doesn't mean that 2 out of 3 have everything taken care of. It means they have something. But 23% have less than $10,000. They don't even have enough for 1 month. Not enough for 1 month. That's crazy. And look at the rest. When you look at it, the only people that have more than $300,000 is 13%. $300,000, by the way, will go away very fast, especially if you have it in a plan that is going to tax you. Okay, so why does it matter that we do what we do? Why do we have an impact? Because we can help people with things that they don't know and need to pay attention about. That's what this is going to be about, what we do and why we do it. Here's another thing you need to all know. Only 1 out of 4 adults have the right amount of life insurance. Day after day, I meet with people. Most people don't have life insurance, and the ones that do don't know what type of life insurance they have, and they don't normally know how much they have. So when we figure it out with them, the majority of them need more. The vast majority. I don't think I have anyone who had enough life insurance. I've had people with $50,000 in life insurance. I've had people with $25,000 life insurance. Now, if they're thinking about just, funeral expense and they don't mind waiting a few months, then maybe. But if you talk about the life insurance that will take care of your family, if anything happens to you, obviously 25, 50,000 is not going to be enough. So this is really important too. We need to make sure we're talking about it. And I know that we do. Another fact that we know now, and again, you should be able to look for this. If you want any of this information, let me know. I'm happy to send you the information on the slides. 4 in 10 adults, if faced with an unexpected expense of $400, just $400, think about your tires, think about, right now, Ignacio and I were driving down from Palo Alto. We went to an appointment up there. Fences had come down, trees. I have pictures and videos that I'm going to use somewhere on my social media. Trees had come down, fences, all kinds of things with the crazy weather. Just an expense of $400 for in 10 adults would need to either need to sell something or borrow money. They don't have enough. This these statistics are from May 2018. This was before COVID. Do you think people have more money after COVID? No. A lot of people depleted their savings. So it's really important that we talk to people about saving money in the right ways. Okay, so let's start by talking a little bit about life insurance. And please write on the chat if you think I'm going too fast. If this is good for you, let me know, because I get so excited. Everyone who knows me really closely knows that I get going really, really fast. But if you need me to slow down or you have any questions, type it on the chat. I'll do the best I can to check it out. So term life insurance. What we know right away, term means it is good for a term of time. It is a contract. It is temporary. It is definitely cheaper than permanent, but it is temporary. The premium provider that we work with is Transamerica. We work with many companies. Why do we work primarily with Transamerica? Because they have some of the best products in the market. And you can actually research this. They always come up as the best term life insurance. Why? Because one of the things that they've added to their life insurance, their temporary life insurance, are living benefits. So if somebody has a chronic, critical, or terminal illness, they will be able to receive money during their lifetime. That was unheard of a while back. Term life insurance was just if you passed. Now they have much better options. And they also have a Trendsetter Super without living benefits. So some people do not qualify for term. One thing I did not add here is that now term life insurance like this, Term LB, term with living benefits, is available for people with ITINs. Traditionally, people with ITINs could have Trendsetter Supers without living benefits, but now the living benefits are available for people with ITINs. So if you help, like I do, with a community such as the Latino community, many people don't have Social Securities. So just know that we can offer protection for their families and for themselves during their lifetime. These policies come in a term of life, right? So it's either 5 all the way through 30-year policy or the age of 80, whichever comes first. So I've had people who were 60, all they got were 20 years. They couldn't get 30 because at 20 years later, they would be 80 years old. So again, take screenshots if you need it, because this is important information to have in your mind. Definitely cheaper than the other types of life insurance for obvious reasons. The other type of life insurance that is on top of our portfolio and what we offer to clients is Index Universal Life Insurance, which is permanent. Our premium provider right now is Nationwide as well as Transamerica. Nationwide continues to be my top choice because it's what my family uses. I know it very well. Doesn't mean Transamerica is not good. It absolutely is very, very good. But I always talk about, what I know best. The benefits of Index Universal Life is that it includes cash accumulation. So you can save into these policies without having to pay taxes on the growth. It is indexed, so there's no loss when market drops. We all know what's going on. And, if you haven't been paying attention to the news with the Silicon Valley Bank and everything that's happening, we're seeing now repercussions, even in Europe. I'm from Spain. I get news from Spain, and we're seeing it also in Europe. So, you don't want your money tied just to the market because obviously there's a risk of loss. You can earn up to 100% of the interest in the strategy that you select. This is why I think, just a little side note, Nationwide's New Heights is an absolute must. You must get to know that product. Why? Because it is uncapped and you can definitely receive all the credit of everything that was earned in the market. These plans also offer long-term care for people who qualify, and they have tax-free, no-fee withdrawals. That is huge, really important. Talk about emergencies or just family plans, right? It's really going to be helpful for people to have access to their money. We always talk about the concept of self-banking or family banking. This is like having your own private bank without having everything that happens within banks happen to your money. I know people who actually banked with Silicon Valley Bank, as well as people who work there, and they're super worried because they were not able to access their funds right away. We don't know what's going to happen, and people are very scared because that has happened in the past. We know that because we study, we know that they have to cover at least up to $250,000. But again, anything can happen. So you definitely want to talk about these things with your clients. The death benefit is tax-free. You are not going to pay anything, or your family won't once they receive it. So that's huge as well. And it avoids probate. It actually avoids probate, bankruptcy, lawsuits. It has so many types of protection. It is an amazing product. Business owners love it. The wealthy love it. Warren Buffett loves it. You can look into it and you can read about it. And there's some books that you definitely need to talk to your upline about, because you learn one afternoon, you'll be able to read the history of these products and why they solve so many of the issues that we find on a day-to-day basis. Okay, we're going to talk about a very sensitive subject, and I know it's hard for me to talk about every time I do, and yet it is important to talk about it. But we see this, right? We know this. We know that when it comes to a family with 2 people or even with 1 person, this slide needs to be updated a little bit because it can be a 1-person, 1 adult family. But generally, when you have 2 adults, you have 2 adults who are holding up all the expenses and all the responsibilities for a family. Okay, and obviously that includes everything you see here, from the cost of the homes to credit card bills and food, etc. But there are many situations, many times when, unfortunately, you lose somebody, or you have somebody who gets very ill, and that money is no longer coming in. So what happens is that their lifestyle is greatly disrupted if they don't have something as important as life insurance. Okay, when families do have life insurance, the experience is very different. When we're talking about a loss, we know that money will absolutely never substitute the person. But we also know that the loss of a person plus the loss of the financial stability, it is often too much for a family to handle. I always talk about my experience. I always talk about what happened with my husband. 6.5 years ago, he had a heart attack and he survived. He didn't have life insurance at the time. If anything had happened to him, I would have been that person in the previous slide. And I have a very good friend whose brother-in-law passed away from a heart attack on the same day. I couldn't believe it. Imagine getting a call in the afternoon from a friend saying that her brother-in-law had just passed from a heart attack, and that the whole family was, just like in shock. And going to sleep that night with that kind of feeling about your friend and what they were going through, and getting on call that same night at 1 a.m. I will not forget. I was already asleep. My husband was in Mexico. He was in Guadalajara with a good friend who's a photographer. They went to take pictures for Day of the Dead. And I get a call at 1 a.m. from our friend saying, Maria, sit down. Ignacio's alive, but he just had a heart attack. And he's in the hospital, and they're going to wait to see whether they have to operate. I cannot tell you what that felt like. And if you knew me and you know me very close, I suffer from anxiety. So for a whole week, I could not eat. I was trembling. He was in Mexico. I was here with my son. I wasn't allowed to go into the UCI or ICU in Mexico. It was crazy. Thank goodness he's alive. Thank goodness he's fine. But I was close to being my friend's sister-in-law, who did lose a husband, who did not have life insurance, just like my husband did not, who lost their home. She had 2 boys. They had to be removed from the schools that they were going to. They had to go to someone's back garage living area. Really, really tough situation. So all I will say is that I also know people who have had that experience and who did have life insurance in their family policies, and what a difference that makes. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much more detail. I know you get it. I know you think about this often. I know that you're protected. Please make sure that if you're not protected, that you are. And please make sure that you talk to your family, because you just never know. And the last thing we want to have people say is, oh, I didn't know you sold life insurance. If only I had known. We always say, don't be a secret agent. I'm going to talk a little bit about annuities as well, because you saw earlier that this is, we're talking about protection, family protection. I'm going to go back into the savings now. Okay. So life insurance, family protection, and savings, if you get an IOL. Annuities is about retirement and money in retirement that has many benefits. So what we use annuities for, in our experience, what we know and what we've researched and learned, is that annuities are a great way to protect money from old 401ks and 403bs. Why is that important? Because 401ks and 403bs are generally tied to the market. And when we roll it over to the right type of annuity, it will no longer suffer those losses. In fact, it's going to be in an indexed account. That is really important. The main provider, the main company that we work with when it comes to rollovers is Athene. We have others. Most of you should know by now that we work with more than 70 companies, but I wanted to make this as simple as possible and share with you my experience and the experience of most of us on the team around which are the companies that we generally will go to as kind of the top choice. And then obviously we have others. Athene is an amazing company for rollovers, and the benefits is that they do have products that are indexed, so no market loss, with still ability to earn a lot of money. They allow for annual 10% free withdrawals. That's really important. Why? Because when you're able to access that money, unlike a 401k, that can help you not get into debt, pay off debt, do things you need to do with your money before, instead of waiting for retirement. And they have bonus options. So a lot of people have noticed that they've lost money in their 401k. And when we do the illustrations, we do the projections, and we show them what happens to money that is rolled over, one of the things they notice right away is that they earn some money. They're like, how did that happen? Well, Athene offers a bonus for money that is rolled into their company. You have to understand that companies are always competing with each other. They have to. They're all great, but somehow they have to stand out, right? So Athene does an amazing job. My retirement funds are rolling over into Athene as we speak. Why? Because I can finally access my old 403b, and I'm doing exactly what is here, because I'm done with making 0.15% in my retirement funds. After 23 years in education, I'm like, you know what? I know more about money than I used to. I want to make sure my money is growing. So really important to understand about annuities. Make sure you talk to your trainer so you can learn more. But again, I'm just giving you the fundamentals so that you have a great base and that you understand what we do. The other area that we do a lot of work around is planning for things like a funeral, making sure that there's insurance that people have, right? This is important. We do this through a company that has the best services. In fact, that company is able to provide the services together with an IOL for people who are interested. So Everest is the company that offers funeral concierge, is what we call it, right? So somebody who will actually take care of all the details when you're going through that kind of experience in your life. And they partner up with Transamerica so that we have some IOLs that come with that funeral service as well. So this is important to know. It covers funeral expenses. We talked about the concierge service. Important to know about this because we also have people who are like, you know what, I don't want anything else, but I definitely want my family not to have to worry about my funeral. So this is an important thing to do. And so that's what I was saying. Transamerica now includes the Everest service. So that's a good one too. This is one of the ones that I love the most. I have to say, talking about it, because we're not talking about, the last stages in life or anything like that. So this is an easy one to talk about with everybody. In fact, I hope you do. But we do have great savings plans for college. We also call it the $1 Million Baby. Some of you have already seen these plans and you'll know what I mean. But these are savings for children through life insurance policies. Obviously, yes, it's a life insurance policy, but the life insurance policy is truly a vehicle so that we can save in the most strategic ways. The government allows for this. The wealthy do this. We need to do it too. So we have premium providers. Nationwide and Transamerica are definitely the ones that I go to first. What are the benefits? Well, you can start as young as 2 months old. So if you know someone in your family or your close network and there's a new baby, talk to them. We have amazing videos that show in like less than 5 minutes how these plans work. They are very inexpensive and they allow for parents to save not just $1 million, but millions of dollars by the time the children are adults. You can use those funds for different things. So unlike the traditional 529 plans in a bank to save for children, unlike those plans, these plans allow you to use that money for anything. It doesn't even have to be college. What does that mean? If your child, and I always say this as a joke, but I actually know somebody whose son went into this field. If your son or daughter decides to be a photographer for National Geographic, you can use these funds. You won't be penalized. 529 plans in the bank that are saving for college will penalize you if you do not use it for college. These plans, the money you have in these plans will not go against children applying for college and applying for what are they called? Becas? Not loans, but the other ones, grants. So you'll be able to have grants, right? There's no worries about it. It won't be a conflict. So this is really important for you to know. When children are before age 16, no medical exam is required unless they have a medical condition. There's some medical conditions that are listed, and I have had children who have been denied or sometimes asked for that. But most of the time, no medical exam. The ownership of that plan can be transferred when they turn 18. Obviously, the parents, sometimes the grandparents are going to be the owners because they're too young. They don't have a bank account, right? They're not making these decisions. But once they turn 18, you can gift or transfer the ownership to your child. This is huge. It's still their plan, still the same cost. The cost won't go up. So that's wonderful. And the withdrawals can be tax-free. So obviously you need to talk to your trainer. All these plans have to be created well with the strategies in mind. We have amazing companies that will talk to us over the phone. We can even put the plans together with some of the experts on the company's end. If you have any questions, you can call them. I've done this before and say, I have a client on the line who's interested in this type of plan, but has some questions. I want to make sure that this person's getting the right answers. Do you mind if and they even share the screen, and we'll talk about some of these things with you and your client. So wonderful things that we do. Let's go back to more information. I think this is important for us to think through. Why is it that what we do matters so much? Well, the reality is that most people are financially illiterate. They do not have the content. They think they know, but they don't know. They're not licensed. They haven't met with client after client like we have. They don't attend the trainings we do, not only with WFG, but also the trainings directly from the companies. Take those opportunities to do that. What we know about the habits in the US of the average American is this. Only 40% of US adults keep a budget and track their spending. On my social media, I talk a lot about, how do you track your spending? How do you cut corners so you have a little bit more money for you? Most people are not paying attention. 76% of American families say they live paycheck to paycheck. That's pretty sad, right? 76%. That's almost 8 out of 10. 50% of American families have less than 3 months worth of expenses saved. And 27% have nothing saved at all. Though they believe in a college education for their children, only 1 out of 3 people have anything planned. And we're not talking about having everything covered. I think it's pretty hard to do that in the US. College is so expensive, but they haven't even thought about what they're going to do for their kids. Everyone says, oh yeah, I believe in college education. I believe in college education, but they don't have anything planned for their kids. So again, do people need us? I mean, you can type it on the chat. Do you think people need us? I'm going to do what Santos usually says. Type a 1 if you think people need us. And I'm going to check the chat. Type a 1 on the chat if you think people need us. Let's see who types it. When are we waiting? Oh, good. Not just a 1, many ones. Perfect. Okay, now I see people are still following me. Great. Yes, they do. They do. And you need to know that you are helping people in big ways. So let's think back on being a financial agent with WFG. Does our work matter, and why does that matter? I'm hoping that I answer some of these questions. But why does our work matter? Do we make an impact? And what is your personal mission? I'm going to go back to the same 3 questions. I'm hoping that some of what I said today got to you in a way that made your spine kind of, perk up. And for you to think, you know what, I need to stop with like, oh, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to bother people. I don't have time. We all can say that. Absolutely, including myself. But the reality is that people do need us. They need us in big ways. They need the education, at least to have a choice. And at the end of the day, what we all want is for no family to be left behind, right? Too many families have been left behind.